So I started my musical journey began in probably grade school. Learned keyboard and was always into theater arts. And so I actually thought I was going to be a Broadway star. And that's really what I was pushing. So, yeah, I did theater performances all through elementary school, middle school, high school. I did professional performances in the Bay. I'm from the Bay Area. And it was really cool because that was like where I kind of found a home and where I learned how to express myself. I actually even thought I was gonna go to college for vocal performance. And I was always kind of dabbling in DJing in high school. I kind of found it a way to it was still music, but it was a different way to express myself. Also, when you don't get invited to school dances and you're the DJ, no one knows you're a loser. So that was kind of how that journey started. And then when I got to college, I got diagnosed with nodes on my vocal cords, which basically means that they're like these little bumps in your vocal cords that prevent you from singing to your full range. And when that happened, that was the most heartbreaking situation because I basically had to go on a year-long vocal rest. And so for someone who thought that their career was gonna be in singing and that's what they based their whole life around, that was really devastating. So basically during that year of vocal rest, I kind of turned to DJing because you didn't need to talk. You don't need to scream loudly or anything like that. And so that's really where I put my energy, and then I loved it. And it was a way for me to express myself, and it took so long for me to heal from that process that really DJing kind of took off first. And so I always figured that I could circle back to singing eventually when I got my voice back. But yeah, I've been really happy ever since, so. So when I started, well, I guess I started as a DJ. Basically from 2008 until 2013, I was heavily in the Los Angeles open format scene, which means that I was playing mostly hip hop top 40. I was doing mostly all of the major clubs in LA, sometimes in Vegas, sometimes traveling on the East Coast and overseas. So I really wasn't focused on production until my brother, Jack Daniels, went to Icon Collective. And he went there a year before me, and I realized that he was able to express himself beyond just the 2 records that he was playing. He was able to make edits and really put into paper on the screen what he was thinking. And so after he went to Icon, I enrolled there as well and graduated from there. And so yeah, and Icon Collective really, I give them a lot of credit because they really helped facilitate my musical journey and foster my talents and skills. And so when I started, I really was following the blueprint of my brother. And so he was really into dubstep. So therefore I was really into dubstep because that was what I was hearing at home and what I was learning from. But I've always loved every genre. And so kind of starting in the bass realm was really nice because I think an emphasis on sound design, an emphasis on individual sounds and finding yourself that way is really cool. But I've learned that I love house music, and so bass house has kind of really fit where I'm at because I can do the heavy sounds that I've loved to do since day one, but I can also have that groovy house vibe because I'm definitely a warehouse after hours kid. And so definitely kind of fusing those together. And so thankfully bass house kind of became a thing right when I was coming up. And so yeah, it's been a nice home for me because I can do the heavy stuff and I can also do the housey vibey stuff. And I think coming from open format, my sets, I've learned to kind of take people on this wavy journey because I can throw in the heavy stuff, and I can go back to that, and I can throw in hip hop, or I can throw in rock and roll, or whatever I want to do. And so kind of modeled my sets after the open format life. I grew up going to shows. That's what I did, whether it was going with friends. My parents, before I was even old enough to really go to shows by myself, were driving me to concerts. My dad took me to a Yellow Card concert, took me to a Census Space. He took me to all the concerts that he was just sitting there where am I right now? And so I really get a lot of my performance and who I model my performances after bands, because I think that that's the rock and roll scene of never knowing what you're getting and really being physical on stage and really engaging the audience. I really find that appealing, and I think that's been a performance technique and that's been around for so long. So yeah, I try to model my sets after how I've seen my favorite bands perform. The Taking Back Sunday, lead singer does this mic trick, or different things that really stand out. I wanted that to be a takeaway from my shows. I wanted people to be wow, she's not only loving what she's doing, but she also knows every song front to back and cares about how the audience is reacting to it. So 40 Ounce Cole was originally started by my brother Jack Daniels and our best friend Hami. They both came from a skateboarding background. Hami was a professional skateboarder. My brother has been skating basically his whole life. So they wanted to come up with a concept of a merch company that was inspired by the skate scene, because it's so raw and it's stylish, and skateboarders really have this kind of like don't give a fuck attitude about clothing, but also at the same time the pieces and everything styled like really fits well together, and it's worn well and it hangs well. And a lot of, unfortunately in my opinion, a lot of concert merch is like kind of like the stock t-shirt, and like you're so hyped to buy it at the show, and then you get home and you're like, this is not that soft, and it doesn't really fit, especially as a female, you know, it's really boxy and big. And so after they launched out, they decided to bring me on because we originally wanted to focus on like a women's collection. I'd like to think that all of our pieces are unisex, and you know, a lot of girls love to wear like the boyfriend tee, or like they steal their boyfriend's tee, so it's like, why not have an option just to buy it yourself? And so I really feel like my contribution there has not only been in that style aspect, but also we've now launched out as a record label. I work as an A&R, I reach out to blogs, I help do like the publicity side of it, social media side, curating photo shoots, things like that, because we really want 40 Ounce to be a collective and a crew, and we want people who see it, like everyone's invited, everyone can join the cult. And so we want people to really feel inclusive no matter where they're from or what they do or whether, you know, they like our music or not. We have a lot of people who maybe don't love going to like raves specifically, but they love our clothing and they love what it stands for. So I think it's really kind of been this amazing collective effort on all three of our parts, from all of our different strengths, to really, you know, have this line and have this label that really represents who we are and what we want to portray in the scene. My dad's radio show. I am all smiles about that. I have always wanted to be a radio host. Literally, I have always wanted to do this. I grew up, I literally had a whiteboard in my bedroom, and when like music discovery, like before the LimeWire, Napsters and all that, I would literally sit in my room and I would listen to the radio. I would stream K-Rock from LA, I would listen to Live 105 in the Bay Area, and I would sit at my whiteboard and I would wait for the VJ or radio DJ to say the name of the song. I would write it down and I would download it. Like, that is how I got my music from like 9 to 14. Like, so I've always wanted to be in that realm, and so I've always said that like one day, maybe like when I'm retired or whatever, like I'll go to radio, because I have a face for radio. No, I'm just kidding. And so when Dash approached me about doing the show, I was like, absolutely yes, because it was a platform for me to not only showcase music that I'm listening to all the time in my car, but also help people discover new music and give it a platform for new artists. I love having our new 40 Ounce artists on the label come in for the show, because not a lot of people interview DJs, or they do and people don't know our scene, and so they don't know what types of questions to ask artists. And so I think as a DJ and a producer and a performer, I'm able to really like get into the nitty-gritty in interviews and talk to people who I've gotten to interview, people I've looked up to for years, and now we're friends, and I've gotten to give it a platform for new artists. So it's really one of my favorite things to do ever. So many things, so many things. So this weekend I am playing my third and fourth show with Sick Dope. I've been direct support for him for his past 2 Los Angeles shows, one at Belasco and one at Circle OC. And so I was really excited when they asked me to be a part of this. I guess he's doing shows with Lucas right now. And so I'm playing Friday at Exchange with them, and then Saturday at the Mezzanine in San Francisco. And I'm really excited because it'll be a hometown show. My parents are gonna come. And then after that, I will be at Burning Man. This will be my 3rd year playing Burning Man. It's definitely a reset for me. It's one of my favorite opportunities and experiences. I went my first year, I guess 2000, what year is it, 2018? 2016? And I was blown away by everything. I actually met my manager there. I met a ton of like lifelong friends there. I really got to connect and get inspired, and so it's really been a treat for me to be asked to represent a couple sound camps this coming year. And then after Burning Man, I have Los Angeles. I'm doing the after-hour sound camps on Saturday. You can find me on Saturday, I believe 2 to 3 a.m. So very excited about Los Angeles. Heard nothing but amazing things from the artists who've played there. So definitely excited to be part of that roster as well. Yes, so much new music is coming. I have a tune coming out on Gold Digger Records, which is a record label based out of France. It's Bad Jokes label and Nico from Tambour Baton. I was introduced by them by my big bro in the scene, Abstract. Those are his really good friends, and so it's been definitely an amazing experience working with them, especially because I I envy the French house scene so much, so for them to think a potato like me could be on their label, I am very, very stoked about that. So my second tune is coming out with them in November. It's called Jungle Demon. I've been playing it out in my sets, kind of teasing it the past couple months. Then I have a song with LA rapper Gully Lamont coming out on Pinnacle Collective, also in November, I believe. He actually has a studio next door to me, and I've heard him rapping for the past couple months now, and I've loved his vibe, so when I did a G-House tune, I had to ask him to get on it. So I have those 2 songs coming out, and then I have a ton of collabs I'm working on. I'm working on my second collab with Podman, who's also kind of been a big brother to me in the scene. He's from the UK, he's an amazing dubstep producer. I have a collab with Al Ross, who's a good friend of mine, one with Shade, who's an LA-based DJ. I actually met him through our mutual friend Henry Liu from Space Yacht. So tons of different collabs coming out, always trying to work, always trying to grind, and yeah, I'm very excited. Or my biggest piece of advice, I guess, would be to not let anyone don't give anyone a reason to criticize you. Know your stuff front and back. When I first started DJing, a couple of my older DJ friends told me the best DJ is the best sound guy. So you need to know how your equipment works, how your computer works, how your software, everything. You need to know front and back so that if you need to troubleshoot yourself. So that's my biggest piece of advice, is definitely don't rely on someone else to help you. Always come prepared for the worst possible situation, because then you're surprised. My second piece of advice is to just kind of work through the mud. I know when I started, I would hear something that maybe I was making that didn't sound exactly what it was in my head, and I would just give up and throw my hands up in the air. And definitely it was my brother who was like, you need to just work through it, because you have to go at it every day and keep practicing, every song doesn't have to be the one. But if you're consistently working, consistently putting in the time and effort, something will come out of it. And so that definitely is a big piece of advice, to definitely just, rather than throw your hands up in the air, go to YouTube, watch tutorials, maybe listen to your favorite album, go to a show, get re-inspired to come back, because none of those people, it just happened to write. For women in the industry, I think it's just be confident in yourself, and if you're happy with what you're doing, then nothing else fucking matters. Because I've definitely been told by many people, you should dress this way, or your hair shouldn't be like this, or your makeup shouldn't be like this. And at the end of the day, no one knows you better than yourself. And so if you are happy with what you're wearing and you want to wear a G-string and sombrero, wear a G-string and sombrero and do it. And because if that's what makes you happy and what you're putting out is authentic, then do it. And if you're happy, being behind a curtain and doing that, then do that. But I think the idea that everyone has an opinion, especially with what females wear and how they, push themselves out there, I don't love. And I think as long as the girl is working just as hard as the guy and putting out the same quality of music with integrity, then I don't think anyone should have an opinion. That is a hard one because I'm such a sneakerhead, but I used to be such a Nike kid, hands down, but I hate to say this, after Kanye West joined the Adidas team, I definitely have to say Adidas. I think what Yeezy's done is kind of revolutionize the sneaker game. I think they're very stylish. I'm all about dad sneakers coming back into style, and I think this new wave of the Yeezy thing has really made it acceptable for me to go out in my pajamas and tattered sweats with sneakers, because I am a hype bae.